Welcome to Truthful Manipulation. In a world where truth is bent, facts are framed, and influence is too often used without conscience, this podcast stands for something different. I'm Dave Kelsey, along with H. Daniel Mujahid, and together we expose manipulation, defend integrity, and help you see clearly in a world determined to confuse you. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Truthful Manipulation, the podcast where we believe integrity isn't old-fashioned. It's just gotten harder to find. I'm Dave.
And I'm Daniel. And today, we're talking about something that's almost become an Olympic sport. Cheating. Not monopoly cheating. Although if you've ever stolen money from the bank while pretending to be the banker, we're looking at you.
I knew there was a reason nobody wanted to play board games with you.
Is it because I keep winning?
No, because you keep making up rules.
Some things in politics, it's the same. It's the same thing in business, It's the same thing in families. Whoever writes the rules usually think they deserve to win.
Today's episode isn't really about who makes mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Today's about the people who think, I'll just manipulate my way out of this.
And eventually, the reality says, your subscription to nonsense has expired.
That ought to be printed on a t-shirt.
Extra large, because ego usually comes in XXXL.
No kidding. Here's something fascinating psychologically. Most people think cheating begins with greed. Not always. Sometimes it begins with convenience. One shortcut, one center cut, one little lie, one tiny omission.
Nobody wakes up one morning saying, I think I'll become an international champion of dishonesty.
Most people case into it.
Kind of like buying one potato chip, then eating the family-sized bag.
Except the chips only make your waistband bigger. Lies make your problems bigger.
Now here's where people get confused. They think cheating solved the problem. It didn't. It postponed the bill.
That's such an important distinction. The consequences didn't disappear. It simply moved with interest.
Truth operates exactly like your credit card. Ignore it long enough, eventually the minimum payment becomes your entire paycheck.
Yeah, financial consulting by Daniel.
I'm available Tuesdays, and I only accept cash because apparently checks bounce, just like people's integrity.
Yes, it does. One thing psychologists often noticed, once someone begins lying habitually, they spend more energy maintaining the lie than solving the original problem.
Exactly, Dave. Congratulations. You've turned one mistake into a second career.
Think about it. Now you have to remember who you lied to, when you lied, what version of the story they heard, which text messages exist, which emails exist, who might compare notes.
Now that's exhausting. I can barely remember when I left my car keys. Now you want me to remember 12 different fictional timelines?
Truth has one version. Lies need sequels.
And prequels, director's cuts, deleted scenes, streaming specials.
And before long, your own story has more plot holes than a low-budget science fiction movie.
At some point, even Netflix says, this script needs work.
Let's walk through what usually happens. Someone gets caught. Now comes the toolbox.
Step 1, deny everything.
Even if everybody has video?
Especially if they have video, because confidence has become a substitute for evidence.
Step 2, blame someone else.
It wasn't me. It was accounting. It was marketing. It was my assistant. It was Mercury in retrograde.
Then comes step 3. Attack the person who discovered the problem.
Yes, indeed. Don't answer the accusation. Question the accuser.
It's amazing how often that works for a while.
Until somebody asks, so did you actually do it? Awkward, eh?
Then comes steps 4. Become the victim.
My real crime was caring too much.
Yeah, we've heard that one before.
Nothing says I'm innocent quite like hiring yourself as the victim in your own documentary.
Here's something people often misunderstood. Many cheaters are incredibly intelligent.
Oh, absolutely. They're smart enough to build 10 escape plans. They just never build one honest one.
Psychology calls this rationalization. People convince themselves their behavior makes sense.
Everybody becomes a philosopher right after they get caught.
Yesterday they were innocent.
And today, they're explaining that truth. It's actually a social construct.
Convenient timing.
Tomorrow, they'll even have a podcast called How Society Made Me Do Everything. You know what's interesting? The smarter someone is, the more creative they sometimes become at defending bad behavior. That's because intelligence doesn't automatically produce wisdom. Sometimes it just produces better excuses.
You know, Daniel, there's something sad about watching trust disappear. It rarely vanishes all at once. It erodes. Conversation by conversation, excuse by excuse, broken promise by broken promise. Eventually, people stop arguing with you. They simply stop believing you.
That's the part cheaters never see coming. They think the biggest punishment is getting caught. Nope. The biggest punishment is realizing your words have become worthless. You can tell the truth, and people still assume you're lying. That's a prison you built all by yourself.
There's an old saying, trust arrives on foot and leaves in a sports car.
I'd update that, Dave. Today, trust leaves in a jet with your credit card.
You really didn't let people off the hook, do you?
No. Reality already tried. They ignored it.
One of the hardest things to rebuild is credibility. Money comes back, businesses recover, relationships sometimes heal, but credibility, that takes consistent honesty over time.
And here's the part that nobody likes. You don't get to decide when people trust you again. They decide.
Trust isn't something you demand, it's something you deposit. Let's talk about apologies. A sincere apology can be one of the most powerful things a person ever says, but only if it's sincere.
Now, some apologies sound like they were written by attorneys using a thesaurus, an AI, during a hostage situation.
Okay, go on.
I'm sorry if anyone was offended. No, you're sorry you got caught. There's a difference.
A real apology sounds different. I was wrong. I hurt people. I own it. I'm going to repair what I can.
Notice what's missing. The sentence, yeah, but. The words, yeah, but, have rescued more bad behavior than Superman.
Or, I'm sorry, but you have to understand.
No, you don't. We understand perfectly. That's why we're having this conversation, ladies and gentlemen.
Psychologists tell us genuine accountability requires something different, giving up control of the narrative.
Which is terrifying for manipulators, because controlling the story has been their favorite hobby.
If your apology needs 3 footnotes and a PowerPoint presentation, it probably isn't an apology. Here's a simple question. How do you know if trust is gone? Family dinner? Watch The Room. People don't even realize they're doing it.
I know that's right. Somebody says, life's changed. And everybody suddenly becomes fascinated by mashed potatoes.
Nobody makes eye contact. Nobody argues. Nobody says anything.
Because they've heard episode 14 before, episode 27, episode 52, episode 89. It's the same speech, just a different holiday.
The silence is something powerful. People aren't waiting for another explanation. They're waiting for different behavior.
Behavior? Not Bashir's?
Behavior, not speeches.
A behavior? Not inspirational quotes posted online over a sunset?
Yeah, those sunsets get blamed for everything.
Poor sunsets. Never cheated on anybody.
Character isn't announced, it's observed. This episode is brought to you by Truthful Manipulation, a roadmap to live by. If you've ever wondered why smart people fall for obvious lies, why organizations manipulate, why families repeat unhealthy patterns, or how to influence ethically instead of deceptively, this book was written for you.
It's not another self-help book. Nobody's going to tell you to hug a tree or manifest a yacht or journal your way into becoming a billionaire by Tuesday. We're going to give you practical tools to recognize manipulation, to think critically, and to make better decisions.
Visit truthfulmanipulation.com to learn more about the podcast, the book, upcoming articles, and future seminars.
Because spotting manipulation is useful. Learning not to become the manipulator, that's life-changing.
Truthful manipulation. Helping people think more clearly, one conversation at a time. Now back to this week's episode. Here's something fascinating. Cheaters often believe they're performing for one person. They're not. They're performing for everyone watching. Employees, friends, children, neighbors, co-workers, even strangers. Everybody notices.
In my case, I would say even don't forget wives.
Sure.
Maybe not immediately, but eventually patterns become very loud.
Children especially. They may not understand every detail, but they recognize inconsistency.
Kids have incredible radar. You tell them, always tell the truth. Then they watch adults spend 6 months trying to explain why this lie was somehow different.
And that's how manipulation becomes generational, not because it's taught in a classroom, because it's modeled in the living room.
That's where it starts, sir. Children don't become what we tell them. They become what they repeatedly watch.
Which makes integrity one of the greatest gifts a parent or leader can leave behind.
Yes, because somebody is always watching, even when you think nobody is.
Your reputation is being written by people listening when you're not in the room.
Absolutely. Pretending to be honest is like renting a luxury car. It looks impressive until the bill comes due. Then suddenly you're asking if they have a bicycle.
Interestingly, isn't a costume. It's a habit. The habits always reveal themselves.
Exactly. You don't find out who someone is on their best day. You find out who they are when things go sideways.
Yeah, pressure has a funny way of exposing character. When everything's going well, almost everybody looks ethical.
Success makes a lot of people look like saints. Failure introduces you to the real person.
And when people panic, they usually choose one of two roads. They become accountable or they become creative.
And creative is usually code for, I've got another excuse you'd better hear.
Pressure doesn't create character, it reveals it. Let's bring this into the workplace. We've all seen it. Sales numbers that somehow look a little too perfect, expense reports that seem exceptionally creative, resumes with accomplishments that somehow grow larger every year.
My favorite one is the resume that says, results-oriented visionary. Translation? I once figured out how to use the office microwave.
Usually not by themselves. Or the employee who insists, I'm indispensable.
Until they leave and somehow the company survives. How amazing.
Organizations don't usually collapse because of one dishonest act. They collapse because people start believing honesty doesn't matter anymore.
Culture works exactly like mold. Ignore a little bit, pretty soon you're tearing out the drywall.
That's why ethical leaders deal with problems early, not because they're harsh, because they're protecting everyone else.
Now, every lie management ignores becomes tomorrow's company policy.
Integrity isn't expensive. Cleaning up after dishonesty is very expensive. Here's the moment every manipulator fears. The moment their favorite trick stops working.
You can almost watch it happen. First comes confidence, then confusion, then panic, then interpretive dancing.
Interpretive dancing?
Have you ever watched somebody try to explain a lie they forgot they told? They're waving their arms, changing directions, introducing brand new characters. It looks like modern art.
Psychologically, this is called cognitive dissonance. They're trying to protect two beliefs at the same time. I'm a good person and I knowingly did something wrong.
And eventually, those two ideas collide, and somebody has to move. Unfortunately, it's usually reality.
And that's where people start rewriting history.
I never said that. That's not what I meant. You're taking me out of context. No, that video is wrong.
The amazing thing, sometimes people actually convince themselves.
The human brain is incredibly creative. Unfortunately, it doesn't always use that creativity wisely.
If your memory changes every time new evidence appears, it's probably not your memory that's changing. Let's pause for a moment because that's an important lesson here. Most habitual cheaters don't wake up thinking, I'm going to become a dishonest person. Instead, they begin by telling themselves stories. Everyone does it. It's only temporary. No one gets hurt. I deserve this. I'll fix it later. These stories slowly become permission slips, and permission, repeated often enough, becomes habit.
Yeah, that's why little compromises matter. Nobody accidentally drives off a cliff. They ignore the warning signs, one sign at a time.
Integrity isn't built by one gigantic, heroic decision. It's built by hundreds of tiny, honest ones, especially when no one is watching.
Everybody wants the medal. Nobody wants the training.
Character is built in private and revealed in public. We'll be right back, but first, have you picked up your copy of Truthful Manipulation, A Roadmap to Live By? It's more than a book about manipulation. It's about learning to think independently, recognizing influence, and live with integrity in a world that often reveals shortcuts.
And let's face it, the world's not suffering from a shortage of opinions. It's suffering from a shortage of people willing to ask, is this actually true? That's what we do.
Visit truthfulmanipulation.com for new podcast episodes, articles, resources, and upcoming events.
Because critical thinking burns calories. And unlike social media, it actually makes you healthier.
Truthful manipulation. Helping people recognize deception before deception recognizes them.
And now, back to the show.
Daniel,
Yes?
have you ever noticed that some people confuse attention with respect?
All the time, Dave. Attention is easy. Set your hair on fire in a grocery store. You'll get attention. Respect? That takes a little more.
When someone's been manipulating people for years, they often mistake applause for trust. They're not the same thing.
They are not. People might clap because you're entertaining. They might follow because you're interesting. But trust is earned when your actions match your words.
And when the truth comes out, the applause usually gets a whole lot quieter.
Funny how fast a standing ovation becomes. Maybe we should have asked a few more questions.
And that's why integrity matters before success arrives. If character only shows up after the spotlight, it usually isn't character.
Yeah, it's public relations.
Fame can rent you an audience. Only integrity can earn you believers. There's an old saying, you can outrun a lot of things, but eventually the truth catches its breath. Maybe that's why so many people spend their lives running.
The funny part, the truth never looks tired. It just keeps walking. Eventually, it catches up.
People sometimes ask, why didn't they admit it in the beginning? Because admitting it early feels painful, but avoiding it usually makes the consequences much, much worse.
Yep, it's like ignoring a check engine light. You can put tape over it. You can pretend it isn't there. You can even sell the car. But that engine still knows.
And eventually, reality sends the repair bill.
With overnight shipping, no signatures required.
You really have a gift for making consequences sound like a delivery service.
Because they are, champ. The only question is whether you ordered express or not.
Consequences didn't get lost in the mail. They always find the right address. Now, here's the hopeful part of today's episode, because this isn't about saying people can never change. They can, absolutely. But change begins with something that's become surprisingly rare, owning it.
Not explaining it, not spinning it, not blaming your childhood, your boss, your horoscope, or even your Wi-Fi. Just own it.
Real accountability sounds like this. I was wrong. I hurt people. I didn't expect immediate forgiveness. I'm going to earn back trust through my actions.
Notice what isn't in there. No offense. If anyone was offended, that's not who I really am. Your actions already introduced us.
One of the greatest strengths a person can have is the courage to tell the truth, especially when the truth costs something.
Honesty that costs you your pride, that's where character begins.
The strongest people aren't the ones who never fall. They're the ones who stop pretending they didn't. If today's conversation has challenged you the way you think, that's exactly why we created Truthful Manipulation. Our mission is simple: help people recognize manipulation, think critically, and influence ethically.
We're not trying to tell you what to think. We're trying to help you think better. There's a difference.
Visit truthfulmanipulation.com for the podcast, articles, resources, and our book, Truthful Manipulation: A Roadmap to Live By. It's a practical guide to navigating influence with integrity.
And if you enjoy the show, share it with someone who isn't afraid of an honest conversation. Just don't send it anonymously. That seems a little manipulative. Truthful manipulation,
where integrity is an old-fashioned.
It's a competitive advantage. And now to the conclusion of our show.
As we're wrapping up, remember this: everyone makes mistakes, every single one of us. What defines us isn't whether we stumble, it's what we do next.
You can spend years building a maze of excuses, or you can spend one day telling the truth. One of those paths gets lighter, the other gets heavier.
And if you're listening today and you've been carrying something that needs to be made right, don't wait for the next excuse. Don't wait for the next crisis. Take the first honest step.
Because here's the secret cheaters eventually discover. The truth isn't the enemy, it's the escape route.
That's the heart of truthful manipulation. Influence people with honesty, lead with integrity, question what you hear, examine your own motives, and remember, character isn't built when life is easy. It's built when doing the right thing is the harder choice.
And one last thing. If you're thinking, this episode reminds me of somebody I know, there's a decent chance they were thinking the exact same thing about you.
And that's why self-awareness beats finger-pointing every single time.
The mirror is usually a better teacher than the telescope.
Until next time, I'm Dave.
And I'm Daniel. Tell the truth. Keep your humor. Protect your integrity. And never become so committed to winning that you forget who you're becoming.
Because in the end, the biggest lie a cheater ever tells
is the one they tell themselves. And that brings us to the end of another episode of Truthful Manipulation, the show where we question the story, examine the motive, and occasionally wonder how certain people manage to put on their shoes without a communications director.
It's an impressive operation.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, or even if we irritated you just enough to make you think, we would like to hear from you.
Questions, comments, topic suggestions, thoughtful disagreement, or a polite explanation of why Daniel is wrong.
Do not encourage fiction, Dave.
You can email us at truthfulmanipulation@gmail.com.
We may not agree with every comment, but we believe honest conversation is a lot more useful than everybody shouting into separate corners of the internet.
And it's considerably cheaper than group therapy.
Visit our website at truthfulmanipulation.com. There you can learn more about the podcast, explore our latest episodes and articles, and find the link to purchase our book, Truthful Manipulation, a roadmap to live by.
It's the perfect book for anyone who wants to recognize manipulation, think more critically, and stop becoming unpaid customer service for somebody else's nonsense.
Please remember to like, share, follow, and subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show.
And share the episode with a friend, relative, coworker, neighbor, or that one person who desperately needs to hear it.
But will immediately assume the episode is about somebody else.
Naturally.
Leaving a rating or review also helps more people discover the show. It may seem like a small gesture, but it makes a real difference.
Unlike clicking like on a motivational quote and then yelling at somebody in the grocery store parking lot.
Integrity does require a little follow-through.
Until next time, keep asking questions.
Check the facts.
Examine the motive.
Ask who benefits.
Keep your sense of humor.
And never surrender your judgment to the loudest person in the room.
Because the truth doesn't need a costume.
And manipulation usually shows up wearing 3 of them.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Daniel.
This has been Truthful Manipulation.
Tell the truth.
Keep your humor.
And do not become customer service for the lie.